like that is 100% without a shadow of a doubt was the moment in time when I had to summon the biggest amount of courage in my life when I made that decision that that marriage was over and that it had to be ended and we had to separate. That was by far the scariest thing I ever had to do.
Hello and welcome to the Go Encourage podcast, where I talk to real people about real life, trying to gain some insights from their experiences building courage. Before we get started, I just want to encourage you to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. It really helps the channel grow and it helps me to bring more guests onto the podcast. You can also do the same on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Amazon with a like and a follow. And if you're looking for links to social media channels, you can find them at www.goencourage.com. You can also grab a copy of the Courage Journal, which is a 31-day prompted journal designed to help you build courage in your life. All right, with all that said, let's bring on my next guest and let's see where the conversation goes. Hey Maria, welcome to the Go Encourage podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi Rix, I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Excited to be talking to you today.
Yeah, me too.
So usually the first question I ask people when they come into the podcast is, what does their name mean? So what does Maria mean? Can you enlighten us?
Yes, that was enlightening for me as well. I had to look it up. Well, it actually means a few things. Some of them I like a bit more than others. So the ones I really like, it means rebellious. It means beloved or love. Mm-hmm. Those are obviously my favorite too. And the other two are of the sea, whichever that means. I'm not even sure myself what that means. Of the sea or sea, and bitterness.
Bitterness. Yeah. Oh yeah, I have seen that come up before.
Yeah, bitterness. At first I was like, I don't know if I like it, but then I thought about it and I was thinking, that's just like life, you wouldn't know sweetness without bitterness. So it comes together. So I'll take it. I'll have it.
I like it. I like the positive spin on it. It's good. Yeah. And it's a good way to cleanse your palate as well with a little bit of bitterness. So, there's that.
Yeah. I feel like I can do that for people sometimes.
That could be your slogan.
Yeah, I can cleanse your palate.
It's interesting that From the Seas come up, because I think the sea is known for its creativity, its power, its ability to transform things and refresh things and move around, which is interesting as well.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I didn't think about it like that, but yes.
That's you. And then also mother. Maria is a strong word for mother as well, comes from Mary, or depends how you look at the translations of that. Obviously being a strong figure in history.
Yeah.
I know you're a mother as well.
Yes, I am. Yes, 3 boys, big boys now. Well,
keep you on your toes.
Well, for sure. I think, that's the fate of every parent. You will be kept on your toes once you have kids. That's it.
It's so true. Yeah. But it's life-changing, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. It's life-changing, it's personality-changing, it's values-changing, it's just changing all around. Like, I think the type of person I was before I had them, like, I would not even recognize myself. I don't think I've changed so much because of them and thanks to them.
Yeah, I can agree. I've got 3 as well, and I think for me, the way that you look at life, as you quite rightly said earlier on, just completely changes. All of these things that might have been important to you before, or ego, selfish desires, etc., they start to fade away, and you're like, oh, hang on a minute. I now have to think wider than just what's right for me.
Absolutely. You have to, your priorities change. Like, only important things really matter. Only like something that really has an effect on something significant, will kind of rock your boat. All the small stuff now is like, it's fine, not a big deal, moving on. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Also, I think the biggest thing for me with kids is your capacity to love. I think before you create life, you don't know what love really is. You don't know what that's like, love in action as well, not just as an emotion, not just in words, but in action. I think that's what they taught me.
I agree, actually. And I think with romantic love, there's still this sense of give and take. You're going to give to me, I'm going to give to you. And we sort of, invest into each other. Whereas with children, like, there is not much expectation that they're going to give you anything. It's all take. And so you're pouring out of yourself. But it's so natural. And even some of the people that I've spoken to who don't have children are going on that journey. They're really worried, like, what if I'm not going to be maternal or paternal? What if I can't provide this for my children? It's like something snaps on the inside, and it's like an instinct that just comes out that you can't really teach or explain to someone until you've been through it.
No, yes, definitely, I agree.
Okay, well, that came out of your name, so let's see what else we're going to talk about. So just to start off, let's have some fun facts so we can get to know you a little bit more. All right, so let's start with favorite food. Do you have a favorite food?
Sushi, for sure. I think I could eat sushi every day easily. I just love the taste. I love any kind of Asian food, anything brothy with noodles, anything light. I do like that. Yeah. What about you?
I'm getting like a Japanese vibe off you there.
Yeah. What do you like?
Nice. What do I like? You can't turn it around on me, okay? I asked the questions.
Sorry.
No, you can. I'm a bit. I don't know. I'm all over the place. I like barbecue type things a lot. I think that would be my go-to.
Yeah, I do like grilled meat as well. Yeah.
Do you like to dress up or dress down? What's your go-to? What do you prefer?
What do you think? I like to dress.
You are rebellious, aren't you? You like to ask me the questions. I can see it already.
I like to dress up. I love to dress up. I think we don't get enough opportunities to dress up. So any chance I get, I'll take it. I like to dress up for sure. I like feeling pretty.
All right. What's a special place for you?
Special place for me, I think that would be Edinburgh.
Oh, Edinburgh.
Edinburgh, yes, is where I came when I first moved to the UK. That was my first stop, and I lived there for 2 years. And I think for me, it will forever be the place of like just growing up and new, like so many news, so many firsts, that happened there. Yeah, it was a huge, one of the scariest things I think I've ever done in life, moving to another country. And Edinburgh was that place where, just immense sort of personal growth that I went through that was happening there. So I think it was like, for me, still when I look back, those are probably my happiest years. I think the happiest, they are like the freedom, the independence that I experienced there. I think that forever will be associated with that city for me. So yeah, Edinburgh is very special.
Oh, nice. What made you move? So you talked about Russia there. So is that where you're originally from?
Yeah.
Okay. Whereabouts?
I'm from a very small town, about 10 hours drive from Moscow down south, very close.
10 hours.
For Russia, in Russian terms, that's quite close.
Yeah. That's about as far as here to Edinburgh.
Yeah, that's exactly how long it is. Yeah, 10 hours. Yep. I have driven once. Not myself. Wow. Luckily, I was driven by someone, but yeah, nice. 10 hours it took us.
Wow. So Russia to Edinburgh. Why Edinburgh? What was the What was the pull to go
You
to
know
that
what? It
particular
was
place?
it was fate. It was not even. I was meant to go to London. I was applying to London College of Fashion to do handcraft tailoring. That was something I was interested in, but they were just so inefficient with paperwork and things like that. So I had to choose something else very quickly, like a plan B type thing. And I found this course. It was on stitched textiles and fashion design in Edinburgh, Telford College. So I applied there, and they were just so quick, and there I was, went to
Amazing.
Edinburgh. Yeah.
Cool. All right, we're gonna ask a little bit more about your past in a second, but let's carry on with these little fun questions. Cats or dogs?
Dogs for sure. They're just so loving.
Yeah, love it. What was the last movie you watched? Was it a hit? Was it a miss?
I honestly cannot remember.
Okay.
I cannot remember, so it could not have been a hit to answer that part of the question. I rarely watch movies these days. I just would rather do so many other things. Yeah.
There is so much to do, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. So, now and again, especially my youngest, my little one, he's 12, and he likes to have a movie night with me sometimes. So we'll now and again watch something.
Nice.
Yeah.
I watched Reservoir Dogs last night.
That sounds familiar.
It's old. It's Quentin Tarantino, one of his early works. And I just needed something on in the background while I was doing a lot of admin and things like that. And I've seen it a few times, love it. It's a great movie, it's classic. So I put it on, and then the inevitable happens, right? You get so engrossed, you move away from the admin and you start watching the movie, and I was like,
Yeah, that's it. That's one of the reasons actually why I don't watch any TV series, just like out of just self-discipline kind of motives, because I know that if it's good, sleep will be neglected, or my nighttime routines will be neglected, and I will not stop until I complete that series. It's just, I know myself, that's how I am, so I don't even give myself the opportunity. To like, I always say to myself, when I'm like old and retired and I have nothing to do, I'll watch all the TV series I want, but not now. There are too many things I want to do right now. I just find it also such a distraction from like real stuff, like thinking about things that important. When you said that you went through a period of time when you watched a lot, I remember that I did too, and that was when I was married and I was desperately unhappy, and I think that was my way of kind of escaping reality and not having to face what was going on, and that was a way of distracting myself from thinking about anything. It would be like a glass of wine and TV series or a movie.
It's so common. So common.
Sure.
In one of the jobs I work in health and wellness, we see that quite often people will, I mean, all of us do it. We will distract ourselves from having tough realizations or facing difficult things that are going on in our life, and it's a form of escapism. And so you could be doing all sorts of substances which would be deemed harmful, which are harmful, to be fair. But then TV shows don't seem very harmful because you're just watching some TV, but actually you are feeding things into your, into your brain and having emotional experiences that aren't actually real. So that, originally they're designed to entertain you, but actually so many people live through them.
Absolutely. Yeah, vicariously, right?
That's it. That's the word.
So much easier to do that on sitting on the sofa or lying in your bed and just like seeing how other people live their lives.
Yeah, totally agree.
It feels so much safer.
It feels safer. I agree. Yeah, you're a spectator, not someone who's actually, living it out in your life. Although saying that, I watched Suits recently and it was amazing. I totally recommend it. totally recommend it when you're retired.
I'll
you got
put
the
it
time.
on my retirement list.
Maria, what made you agree to come onto the podcast today?
I think it's just meeting you and connecting with you and your values, and I think we just kind of clicked like that. So I thought it would be a good thing to do. I also watched a few of your podcasts, which were really good. I would really recommend subscribing to it. I just thought, I haven't done it before, and I also felt a little bit apprehensive, a little bit like, I don't know, that is definitely out of my comfort zone. Like, should I do it? And whenever I feel like that, I know for a fact that is something I should do. Yeah, like I always try and go into discomfort, but discomfort that feels interesting.
Well, I'm so glad that you have, and I have to commend your bravery as well, because if it does push us out of our comfort zone, it doesn't mean we shouldn't do it, and there is definitely growth attached, which does align with going courage. It is about going in courage to go through tough things that hopefully when you come out the other side, there's a sense of accomplishment, yes, but also transformation of mindset. So thank you. I appreciate you coming on today.
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
And I have to say, your content really resonates with me. So I think what you're putting out there takes a lot of guts, takes a lot of courage, and it's inspiring. So I'll definitely put your link in the description below for people who want to see what you're up to and what you're all about as well.
Thank you, Rix. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Star sign.
I'm a Virgo.
Virgo
through and through. I always say I'm textbook Virgo. Very organized, very sort of structured. Can be quite critical of others, but mostly of myself. So yeah, I'm definitely a Virgo. I do believe in that stuff. I know that a lot of people don't, but the more I kind of get into it. And what is your star sign actually?
Oh, I'm Sagittarius.
Sagittarius, that's my oldest. Sorry, my middle one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would have thought that, because Sagittarius is usually very they kind of like say what they think. They don't really concern themselves with upsetting people. They're very headstrong, very independent, very... Does that sound like you?
Rebellious, would you say?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Are you rebellious?
Innovative is the word I would use.
Okay.
I think I'm quite compliant, actually. I like rules, I like structure, I like having boundaries and things, but I like also breaking out of them as and when required, for a cause that's noble, not just for the sake of it. But I think there's always layers, right? So your middle child might have some middle child type personality traits that then combine with his Sagittarian, combined with being a boy, combined with being, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know much about Virgos, but with Sagittarians, from my understanding, we're curious, we're adventurous, we're determined, we're very free flowing, we're free loving, very respectful of people having their own, I guess, libertarian spaces to be able to express themselves. The downside is we can be a little bit aloof and a little bit all over the place and not stick to stuff if we don't do the work. And I suppose that's where my compliance and my organizations really help me move forward. But there's like a shadow and light side to everything, isn't there?
Exactly. Yeah.
So is Virgo September?
Yeah,
is that right?
September.
Yeah. Okay. All right. One of my friends growing up, he was September the 3rd. Shout out Mandeep if you're listening. And he was a Virgo, and we used to get on really well. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Virgos get on with most people.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I was into horoscopes a lot growing up. I do sort of take it with a pinch of salt now. I think it's a nice kind of like interesting thing to look into, but I think personality tests and Myers-Briggs and strength finders and love languages and all of those things, whilst people have some views on them, I think they're just interesting. I don't think you should make it the source of who you are as your identity, but they're nice little insights into things.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just like a little something extra to help you maybe understand yourself a bit better. It's not something you should religiously follow and like put yourself in that box of like, I am just that. This is exactly how I am, and I don't behave in any other way. I don't think that's helpful. But if it helps you to make sense of certain things about yourself, then I think definitely that's a good thing.
I agree. And it is, isn't it? It's about, this whole process of life, we're going deep now, is about learning who you are and what you have to contribute to the world that you live in.
I agree. I think that's the whole purpose of life. To learn about yourself, to know what you're capable of, to know how far you can go. Yeah.
20 minutes in and we've just solved the purpose of life. I love it. It's great. Tick that off the box.
It's so easy, right? Like people like to overcomplicate things. I think things are much simpler than we want to make them out to be.
I think you're right. I think if you look at successful businesses as an example, right, just as one example, what you'll find is so I work in branding as well, right? So when you're branding a business, you're really taking all the complexities out of the business, pulling it together and finding out what the core message is.
The essence.
And when you figure out what the essence, and when you get that, it does normally get summed up in one sentence. And I think if you have that as a mantra, a vision statement for your own life, whatever you want to, label it, and you adjust all your decisions to that one mantra, that one affirmation, whatever you want to call it, then your life will become clearer, simpler, and dare I say happier as well, because you have clarity about what you're doing.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about for me is sort of having the vision, like your vision for your life, where you're going, what you're doing. And the interesting thing is that your vision can change as you change, and it's fine. But I think it's really, really important to think about it and to have a sort of vision defined at any point in life, because otherwise you just kind of like, you don't know why you're getting up in the morning, to be honest, if you don't have that, if you haven't defined that for yourself. Yeah. But sometimes you outgrow it, and then it's time to come up with a new one.
I like that. I think it's easy to have a vision and then just quit after a week or two or a couple of months because you think, that wasn't right for me. But actually, I think you should give it a good, I don't know if it's a time or if it's an energy thing, but you give it a good go, what you're trying to achieve. And then when you get to that point, you can then reevaluate and say, well, actually, I found out that this is not what I want to do or what I want to be, and I want to go in this direction. And that's okay. I think too many people either stay on the side of not having a vision or have one that's so stringent that it actually becomes a shackle on their lives and they can't, move freely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people kind of stop themselves from having a vision is because they stop themselves from dreaming in the first place. And that comes from, again, going back to knowing yourself, because they don't know themselves. They don't know what they want. You ask a lot of people, like, what makes you happy? What do you really like? What do you really want? And they just don't know. They don't even know what makes them really happy. And yeah, that's one thing. And another thing is not trusting yourself, I guess, not trusting yourself to be able to achieve that, to be able to make your vision become reality. I think a lot of people, they just don't trust themselves.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's not something that you just switch on. You just don't go, oh, trust me. Oh, I know what I'm doing. I think there's a lot of deep integrity that needs to be built on the inside.
Absolutely.
So if you say to yourself, this box of, I've got some really nice, what are these? I got these as a gift. They are white chocolate zesty shortbreads, really nice, right? But if I say to myself, I'm going to have one, I'm not going to have another one. So I've had one, it's delicious, it's so good, I want another one. But because I've made that pact with myself that I'm not going to have another one, it's not about having the other one, really. You can have the other one, but if you do, what happens is there's a little bit of mistrust that gets built on the inside. And if you do that 1,000 times, little bit by little bit, what you'll find is, for some reason, you're thinking, oh, I don't trust myself. Yeah, because in those small decisions, you've betrayed yourself, and therefore trust hasn't been built.
That's it. These are like little subliminal messages to ourselves. And it's funny how a lot of people set themselves up for failure and for this deep mistrust of themselves by setting these huge goals for themselves, or sometimes they might not even seem that huge. Like, for example, someone might say, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. You know, they've never set foot in a gym in their entire life. And, you know, for them, it might not seem on the surface like a huge, like global decision, but because for them, it's a really big step. Of course, they're going to quit. You know, 99% of people will not go to the gym 3 times a week if they've never been going to the gym before. And of course, they will see themselves as a failure, you know. So we need to be like really careful when we do want to build that trust in ourselves, to start small, to start easy. Like, the smaller you can break that down, the better, because then it's so much easier for you to keep that promise to yourself, you know. If I just start with walks in the morning, if I just, you know, do a little breathing practice, or whatever you decide to do something that's actually achievable, that's something that you know for sure that you're going to stick with, and then slowly kind of build up on that. And that's how you grow that trust naturally.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, because we do have these big desires within us. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and they come from great intention, but you do set yourself up for failure. And I think, you know, even just making your bed in the morning, it's not that hard. But the very nature, I mean, there's loads of reasons you should make your bed in the morning. I think there are books written on this, right? But just to take one thing, and that is, if you make your bed in the morning, the first thing that you're doing is saying to yourself, I respect this space, and I can tick off a task that I've done before I've done anything else. And then those little senses of achievement start to give you momentum to do other things as you get through the day. Yeah,
that's another thing that I think is so important, to have a reason why you're doing this. Because people just randomly decide they want to do something, but they're not very clear why exactly I want to do that. Is it even my desire? Is it because someone wants me to do it? You know, if people don't have this very clear why am I making that bed, you know, why am I going to the gym, why, like, what is it going to give me, then I think it's even harder to keep going with that and to keep motivating yourself. And then I also think it's not enough to identify that why once and then forget about it. You kind of need to remind yourself every day, every morning, like, why am I doing this? What do I want? Like, connect with your dreams, your desires. Again, that vision of where you're going. I think it's so important to stay in touch with that on a daily. Because life is so distracting. Like, life is so distracting. Like, you get up 5 minutes later, you already like forgot everything, kids need this, you have work tasks, like shopping needs to be done, laundry needs to be done. That's it. All out
that
of
laundry.
Yeah.
That laundry. Honestly, it's never ending. I know. We talked about star signs there a little bit. Are you spiritual? Do you believe in a higher power? Do you believe in God?
Yes, all of that. I would say yes, I'm spiritual. I do believe in God. I'm not religious. I don't. Yeah, I used to be Russian Orthodox, but I think that was more sort of, I don't want to say imposed on me, but I was kind of led into it by my mom. But that was not my, it didn't come from the inside, But I do believe that there is higher power, that there is God, there is, I don't know, higher consciousness, whatever you want to call it. It's got so many names. But yeah, I do believe that we are kind of divinely guided. There is a divine plan about all of this.
We've talked about a few things there. One of the things I wanted to just jump into is where you're originally from then. So you talked about being 10 hours away from Moscow, did you say?
Yeah.
What were your family dynamics growing up?
Well, it was a very traditional Soviet Russian family. My mom and dad, again, very traditional. They're still together. They are very loving, very supportive parents. But growing up, I think the way girls are brought up in Russia, I mean, it's probably changing a little bit now, but when I was growing up, it was important that the girl is helpful and quiet and knows her place and not too much of an inconvenience for others, so things like that. I guess they wanted to make sure that me and my brother, I have a brother, we kind of grow up humble as well. We don't get too big-headed or whatever. So there was perhaps a bit more criticism than praise most of the time. But, I know it was coming from a good place. It wasn't coming, because they were mean or whatever. We were really loved. I always kind of knew that in my head, but I think because my mom started her business when Soviet Union fell apart, and people could start their private businesses, she kind of was on that wave. One of those people that started, she opened a dental clinic. So as a result, she was working a lot. She was like, she was either working or when she was at home, she was on the phone. I remember her being on the phone constantly, like talking to someone. So I think I was really kind of missing that connection, that time with them. But I wasn't aware that I was missing that. I just knew I had some kind of a longing for something. I remember I had a lot of, well, not a lot, but regular sort of crying sessions on that topic. I was feeling like unloved or loved less than my brother, something like that. Even though, as I said, in my head, I knew that I was loved. I had no doubt that I was loved, but still, I almost I remember these episodes now when I was crying and I was at home by myself. I was at home a lot by myself, which I think kind of taught me to enjoy my own company, because I am never, ever, ever bored. And I've never been bored. Even as a little girl, I was never bored. I was into everything. Any kind of arts and crafts, I was like, you name it, cross stitch, knitting, crochet, macrame, everything and anything. I was sewing. I was always sewing my own clothes for my dolls. So I was busy. I was always busy. But as I said, now and again, I would just have those like crying episodes, and I almost enjoy those. Like I'm talking about now, it sounds a bit crazy, but it was almost like indulgent. I was like, like I'm so unloved, nobody loves me, that kind of stuff. But I think that was coming from just kind of that missing maybe physical touch, maybe just being in company of people that love you, which are your parents when you're growing up. Yeah, but of course, that was just life, and those are kind of my I guess karmic traumas that everyone has. We all have the stuff that we have to go through, and then it kind of shapes our healing, I suppose. Because that's what also I believe we kind of accumulate the trauma throughout first part of life, and then we heal that trauma and grow through that. I think that's my little theory about that.
No, I agree. I think there's definitely there's so many labels for it, but there are things that get passed down generation to generation, and then whichever generation is courageous enough to step up and deal with it, then breaks the chain for future generations. But life isn't clean, so without knowing it, you'll create a new set of problems and issues that then pass down. Like your mum, hats off to her. It sounds like she was an entrepreneur, which you are as well. So I'm sure you've taken that from there, or inadvertently or consciously. But then, the downside to that would be exactly having not have enough time with yourself, maybe your brother as well. And then, so you're always balancing what's right for the family versus what's, important to move forward as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
I love the sense of self-awareness as well, because I think part of the issue with dealing with traumatic things, or even just things that we find difficult, is trying to get clarity on why things are the way they are, or why you're triggered by a particular thing, so that you can have a look at that and say, oh, this emotion that I'm feeling isn't about what's happening to me right now. It's actually an unresolved feeling that I haven't addressed from 15 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 days ago, whenever it was. And then when you can have that sense of awareness, I'm not saying it heals it, but it definitely gives you
the
motivation.
Step always, yeah.
Absolutely. It's like going into a hospital, isn't it? Like if the triage can't work out what's going on in your arm, they don't know where to send you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think also that kind of upbringing, this is where my feeling of self-worth and self-esteem, which was quite low throughout the first half of my life, which then led to a dysfunctional relationship, dysfunctional marriage that I was really unhappy in. So that all kind of stemmed from there. And the life, it has its own beautiful ways of turning you to face that stuff. Like you can turn away, like pretend it's not happening, I don't know what's happening, have a glass of wine and watch a movie after movie every evening, but eventually it just becomes too obvious. It just is like right in your face, like are you gonna face this? Are you gonna deal with this? This is your path. You have to face it, and you have to do something about it. Otherwise, you're just gonna, live the life that you're gonna look back and think, what was I doing? What was I thinking? So yeah, those are like, I think childhood is so, like, if you're looking for answers for anything that's going on in your life, start there. Like have a deep look there, have a think.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Why am I the way that I am?
I agree, and childhood is a fascinating thing. Like even if you're looking at someone else's, if you're helping them, or looking at yourself, there's a lot of answers there. And I think it's the way that you respond is vital. That's the important part as well. So you could, and I'm not saying you're doing this because I haven't heard any of this, but like you could point fingers. Oh, I'm the way that I am because of this person, or oh, I can't do this because of this situation that happened in my life, or whatever. But if you look around the world and you open your eyes to some of the incredibly traumatic experiences that people had, yet they chose to respond in a way that was courageous, that was maybe very difficult but noble. I think, beautiful things are created from that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you think of some of the greatest stories, most stories, let's be honest, most stories, we can talk about TV shows, movies, whatever, but like books, whatever, like if you look at the character, what tends to happen is you're introduced to this character. You might have some insight into their childhood, maybe not at the beginning, maybe there'll be flashbacks, whatever. And then you start to understand why the character is the way that the character is. And then there'll be some kind of obstacle to climb. And it is make or break, it's insurmountable. They won't be able to do it. And then they find a way of doing it and they resolve it. Even if the resolve isn't good or bad, but they resolve it. And then there's a nice completion to the character arc. And so we watch it and we feel like we've been on a journey when we haven't, because we haven't been on the journey, tying back to what we were saying earlier on in our own life. And so it's inevitable that whatever it is that you're going through, inevitably is going to come and bite you. So why not face it, as soon as you can?
Yeah, definitely. What you were talking about just now, I think there is a book called Hero's Journey or something like this.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Have you heard of it? Yeah.
Yes.
And a lot of people who do like lifestyle blogs, that are like professional bloggers, let's say, they have a lot of experience. A lot of people recommend this book as an example of how this is slightly changing the subject, but of how to engage your audience, because like this is what we all want, people who create content and who do blogs and things like that. We want our audience to be interested in what we do and to kind of follow us on the journey. So these are the things that you share with them. You share your vision, you share your journey, your obstacles, how you overcome them. So all of that kind of creates that image of a hero, who is going through stuff and sharing it. That's how you kind of build the community. That's how you build trust. That's how you get people to care about what you do.
I agree. And if we do it authentic, these stories have been told for centuries. And I think what's happening, at least in my view, or at least in the circles or the algorithms that I'm on, is I love connecting with people who are really authentic about the story and the journey that they're on. Because I think that's where I feel inspired, and I also get assurance that, look, we're all going through things, and life isn't just, all these photos in front of a Ferrari and, all these beautiful places that you're traveling to. Actually, it's really important to say, look, I'm really struggling with this, or this is how I overcame that, or I haven't overcome it and I don't know what I'm doing. I think those kinds of human connections now in this current climate are so important, especially when you said earlier on there's so many other distractions and so much fake stuff out there that you don't know, you're dysregulated as a consumer.
I agree. To be authentic and to be vulnerable and to be honest and open, that just takes so much courage, so much feeling the fear and doing it anyway. I think that's a lot of what you talk about on your podcast.
I think so. And, I speak to people and they're like, oh, so cringy, so cliche. But cliches are cliches for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
The simplicity of things, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier on, is powerful. And sometimes you just need to hear something 100 times, but the one time you hear it in the right space or the right mindset is the time that it changes you, and you say, oh, actually, yeah, that's absolutely right, and you move forward.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've been noticing recently. Sometimes the same kind of piece of information that I've heard so many times before, and it never landed, it never quite dropped into my heart. All of a sudden, it's been said by someone, like through their own lens, like through their own perspective, in their own words, and all of a sudden it just clicks. I don't know what it is, whether it's the accumulation of the information that's been happening, or that specific delivery that this person has presented you with, but something just falls into place, and you're like, yes, that makes total sense. Of course this is like this. Of course, like, this is my answer. This is so helpful. This is like what I needed to hear. So yeah, that's why for me, like, staying open to new things, to new knowledge, to new information is so important. It's like one of my sort of biggest values, to continuously expose myself to new things, to hear, to read, to listen to new things, because like, all the knowledge is out there. Like, if you're looking for answers, you will find them. You just need to keep looking, do not stop. And do not close yourself to different perspectives. Like, stay open, stay curious. And yeah, everything is out there, and everything is available. You just need to keep going.
Knock on the right doors.
Yeah. So.
Or knock on every door.
Knock on every door. Yeah, until you find the right one.
I was having a thought in the shower this morning, and it was because the shower is like just the most amazing place to just
I know,
yeah. You can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, you just like but there was this thing around, and it ties in beautifully with what you're saying, a thing around curiosity. And so on my journey of faith, right, I was very curious, very, very curious about all walks of life, different perspectives, how people express their spirituality, how people don't think there's anything out there as well. And instead of having strong opinions, I was just very curious. And then as you go through that, the natural tendency is then to form your own thoughts and opinions. And then you go from being curious to believing, and then from believing to knowing. But the knowing place is a little bit dangerous, because when you're in the knowing place, you think you have the answers to some very old, ancient questions. And if the human experience can teach us one thing, is that nobody has all the answers, right? And you're never going to get all the answers. So for me, going back to my thoughts in the shower, it came back to full circle to curiosity again. Like, you have to keep going in that cycle of curiosity, understanding. And yes, I think believing is a big part of any faith journey, but it's how you kind of balance that out with new information or old information presented in new ways, and seeing if you can stay on that balance of having a curious mind. Because without a curious mind, that's it, you stop, you shut the door, and you don't grow.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, the checkpoint is, does this knowledge make me happy? Does this belief make me happy? Because again, for me, it's like coming back to happiness. Like, if it stopped making me happy, I'm gonna look for new knowledge, and I'm gonna form a new belief, and that's the cycle, because nothing kind of serves the same purpose forever, because you change as a person, as we talked before. Like, if you are a seeking type of person, you will be changing, you will be going through like cycles. You think you've like understood something about life and then it changes again, and you're looking for another answer again. And yeah, that's for me, like, when some kind of belief is, I feel like it's limiting my happiness, then I can let go of it, and then I can look for something else. That's how I personally stay open and curious.
Well, I think the quote is, "He who thinks he knows everything knows nothing at all." because then you kind of just stop looking. But I have to ask you about when you say happiness, because this is where maybe there's a bit of opposing view here. But when you say what makes you happy, what do you mean by happy?
Like the example that I gave you with faith, believing that there is higher power that's looking after us. Happiness is a feeling. That does that thought of being protected give me that good feeling of I'm not alone, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm gonna be fine no matter what. Does that make me happy? Does that give me a good feeling? It does. That's what I mean. Does it make me feel good? Let's say.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's cool. Because I think you also said, and this is why I believe as well, that happiness is a feeling. So it's not a state that we can be in all the time.
No.
There is an up and down to everything. Sure. There is a bitterness to the sweet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess like when you chase happiness, it for me, it's like defining what that means. Is it a sense of contentness? Is it a sense of joy? Is it a sense of a good feeling, like you said there? And those things then drive the decisions that you make.
I think happiness overall is something that you only realize in retrospect almost. It's like when you reflect. That's why I think self-reflection is like one of the key tools for personal development. I think it's a must. It's a must to look back at your day, to look back at your week, your year, your life, and then you look at it, you ask the right questions about it, and then you can decide, was I happy? Was I mostly predominantly happy? Was it satisfying? Did I feel good? And then if the answer is yes, then yes, that was a happy day. Was I happy every second of this day? Of course not.
No.
Of course not. But overall, was it good? Did I feel mostly good?
Yeah.
Then it was a happy day.
No, I like that. That's good. I think for me, journaling is a massive part of my routine. I'd love to say I do it daily. I don't. I'd like to, but I think that expectation was set a little bit too high, going back to what we were talking about before. But it's a great way of looking back on your day and going, oh man, I feel exhausted. I don't think it's been a good day. And then you look back and you're journaling and you're thinking, well, actually, out of the 7 things I wanted to get done today, I got them done. One thing didn't go the way I wanted it to go, but I'm holding on to that one thing. And actually, I can let go of that. It's all right. And then having a sense of gratitude for the things that did go the way that you wanted to them, or better than you even expected. I'm just giving you those as examples, but that's a good way of retrospectively looking back at your day. And then you're going to sleep going, oh, that was actually a better day than I thought. Awesome. And go to sleep.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yes to all of that. Yeah, agree.
Well, as you're saying yes, I'm going to send you this gift, right? It's called the Courage Journal. It's a journal that I've authored. It's I don't know if you like daily prompted journals, but
I love journals. Thank you so
you
much.
Do?
That is so sweet. I absolutely, I love journals, notebooks. Yeah, that is my bag. I just, I have about 5 at any given moment in time on the go. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So check it out. See what you think. I'd love to hear what, like authentically, I'd love to hear how it helped you, if at all, or if you think,
I would I'm be delighted to review it for you.
But going back to what we're talking about there, I think gratitude plays a huge part of the way that you see things. And I think retrospectively, with hindsight, if you are self-analyzing, it's good to do that with a sense of fairness, because I think earlier on, I think you alluded to it as well, like if you're self-critical, if you're critical about things, you can have this negative spin on things that you're being very unfair about yourself, and if you can do that for other people, if you can do it for your sons, your friends, your family members, then why can't you do that for yourself as well? To say, well, actually, hang on a minute, you're someone that I'm in charge of looking after, actually. I need to be fair to you and not to say, oh, you didn't do that, that was bad, or you didn't get this done. It's like, well, hang on, where's this internal voice coming from? And more importantly, how can I adjust that into a fairer, more objective voice?
Yeah, that is so true. And also I think this is where kind of your community and people around you come into play as well, because sometimes it's so easier to hear something from someone else, especially a positive thing about yourself, especially if you're a self-critical person. You just need that, especially in the beginning when you're like just starting to learn to accept yourself and to love yourself as you are. It's so much easier to do when you have it sort of reflected to you from someone else. It's much easier to hear it sometimes from outside.
I agree. And in order to self-reflect, let's use the analogy of a mirror. So I'm terrible with mirrors, right? I look in the mirror once in the morning before I go to work just to make sure I'm like looking decent, and off I go. And then I don't look in the mirror most of the day. And so in terms of my appearance, I'm not paying much attention to it. But in terms of what's going on the inside, I might overly pay attention to it. So there needs to, this wasn't the point I'm making, but you have to have some balance. But the idea here is if you're able to be around people who can reflect that mirror back to you, it's really important, And if we're talking appearance, if you've got something in your teeth when you're at dinner, and the friend that says to you, hey man, you got a bit of lettuce in your teeth, you really respect and appreciate that feedback, don't you?
Yeah.
And so, it's important to be around people who can do that in the same way about your personality traits, your character, and to receive that with the intention that it's there for as well is difficult, but a very important part of self-development.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to be careful about the people you choose to have around you. There is so much about it on social media, letting go of people that are not your people, but it's true because it does really kind of pulls on that string of just putting up with people that are not good for you because we don't want to come across as cold or unfriendly or selfish or whatever. Especially for women, I think it's quite relevant, because women are conditioned to be self-sacrificing, I think, a lot, and to put others first a lot. So it's not a big deal that this friend is always putting me down, but she's a good person overall. No. If you don't feel good in the presence of this person, then what's not good for you is not good for you. There's no way around it.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I think this me would agree with that. Old me would be like, no, be friends with everyone. Make sure you get on with everyone. Make sure that you're serving them the best you can and they're doing the best for you, etc., etc. But I think we have to be a bit more, well, I don't want to include everyone in that. I have learned to be more realistic about that sort of thing, because I'm not anyone's priority. The priority should be yourself in the least arrogant way as possible. So, if you can't take care of yourself, what hope is there for you to take care of other people?
Absolutely not. That's what this saying is about, fill your cup first before, because when you give to others from the outpour, from the abundance, from the overflow of your own energy, then sort of that giving has such different vibe behind it, that it just comes from a place of love, from wanting to be helpful, to look after the person. Whereas if you giving from the place of feeling completely drained yourself already, then it just comes with a whole other baggage of resentment and sadness, and like, I don't want to do this, but I'm gonna do it because that's what I have to do, that's what I should do. It's completely different energy, and then no one is benefiting from it at all.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it takes some work to understand that, if it isn't naturally an instinct within yourself.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. That takes time.
You reminded me of this. It's a song. It's is it a hymn? It's more of a worshipful song, and the words are, "Fill me up until I overflow, because I want to run over." And I think that's a beautiful way of looking at that cup of water that is just completely just being filled and refreshed and of the sea, and creating that water for other people as well. It just becomes a way of life as opposed to something that you have to work really hard to do.
Yeah, exactly. If you're like scraping the bottom of the barrel, just like give the last. Yeah, and that's just not sustainable long term. Eventually, you will run dry. What you're gonna do then you're gonna neglect everyone, because your body will demand that attention. You will get sick, or if you need rest but you're denying yourself rest because you think you should be helping someone else, your body will make you have that rest eventually, but it's not going to be on your terms. You're not going to like it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And if you're not going to face that reality, it's going to come at you at some point in your life. So better to try and attack some of that before it happens, So Maria, we've talked quite a lot about all sorts of things. I wanted to ask you, are you able to share a significant moment for you in your life where you had to overcome a fear and respond with courage? I know that a lot of your content at the moment is around your divorce journey and some of the, difficult emotions and the difficult, I guess, decisions that you have to make on a day-to-day. Are you able to share some of that from the perspective of you facing your fears and adopting a courageous attitude?
Yeah, sure. Like that is 100% without a shadow of a doubt was the moment in time when I had to summon the biggest amount of courage in my life, when I made that decision that that marriage was over, and that it had to be ended and we had to separate. That was by far the scariest thing I ever had to do. But as it turned out, on the other side, you feel like, again, that is one of the most kind of identity shifting things that happened for me as well, because you have to have this initial faith that you are strong enough to do something like that, to go into this kind of fear. But until you've actually done it, you don't know for sure. You don't know for sure. And the good thing is, once you've done it, you feel unbreakable. You feel unshakable. You feel like, you can do anything after that until something else comes up.
Until the next ceiling along.
Exactly, until the next. But I mean, definitely no regrets. Definitely something I would do over and over and over again if I had to. But it was scary. It was very, very scary.
It's definitely something that I've gone through painstakingly as well. And I think for me, coming to that decision was a really long process, and getting there was really difficult. And I think when you're the one who initiates, there's a whole level of judgment and all sorts of other stuff that you have to contend with from community, friends, etc. But no one takes that decision lightly. It's not something that you think, oh, I'll just throw this away or whatever. It's a formalization of an already, unfortunately, dead relationship, which is really tricky to contend with. I think around it all, I really struggled with fear, and again, of other people's opinions, whether I'm doing the right thing, whether it's right for the family, etc., etc. And I think part of that journey has been to go courageously in peace, knowing that it's the right thing to do. So I think that's what really drew me to your content. If someone's listening to this podcast today, what would you say is a good place to start when you're feeling all of these horrible things and wanting to step in courage to do what's right for you, that you inevitably know is the right thing moving forward?
I would say just know when it's the right time for you, you will make that decision. Like I was saying to you before, when that pain of being in the same situation becomes stronger than your fear of leaving, of ending it, then you will make that decision. Do not worry about forcing it. Do not worry about making the wrong decision. It will happen. It will happen naturally. And if it's not happening yet, again, do not be hard on yourself. Do not blame yourself for not being able to make that decision. Just kind of turn your gaze inwards. That's how I call it. Just look on the inside. What do I need just now? What do I need? Do I need to trust myself more? If that's what I need, then do the little steps like we talked before. Start building that relationship of trust with yourself, because to be able to do a thing like that, you really need to trust yourself. You really need to know that you will get through it. You have enough resilience. You will figure it out no matter what. But to get to that place takes time. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. For me, it was 5 years easily. 5 years I was getting to that place of a final decision, and it's different for everyone. It's like there is no solution that fits every person and every situation. It's going to be so unique to you. So don't stress about it. You have enough stress going on. Just have faith that if it's meant to happen, it will happen, and you will just come to a point one day when you will just know that that's it. Enough is enough. That's it. It's enough. But don't worry about it. Like, do not worry, when is it going to happen? When am I going to be ready? Just listen to yourself and just build that relationship with yourself first. That's what I would say.
That's really good. No, I think that's really good. I think because then what you're doing is you're giving time and you're giving space for this important thing to happen or not happen. I sometimes get approached by, let's say, people who are considering going down this path, and what they want from me is to encourage them. Permission, great word. They want permission, and for me to say to them, yeah, I definitely think you should do this. And every single time my response is, that's your decision to make. If I could give advice, if any, it would be, please explore every single possible avenue that you can to reconcile and make things work. Not because that's good advice, but because you're going to have to look in a mirror in 20 years' time and look at yourself and say, did I give every single bit that I could possibly give in order to make this work? And if the answer to that is no, then you're going to be living in a sense of regret for a very long time. And I think that was a bit of a driving force for me as well. I had to get to that place where I was so sure that I've given everything that I possibly could have. And maybe, I mean, we all have to accept our part we play and our failures and things like that. But I think it's a very difficult decision that you come across in your life, and one that no one plans to go down ever. Like, it's never been on a radar that this is something that would be, people go through. Or
no one gets married thinking about it. having to go through a divorce one day.
Yeah. Maybe we should though. maybe we should go, well, actually, hang on, these are values and these are...
Stoics, they have this practice of like going through like the worst case scenario. I also like to do that as well in like other areas of life. If I'm worried about something, if I'm scared, I will go down the road of like, okay, the worst case, what's gonna happen, and I just like imagine it and I live through it, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna survive. I think I'm gonna be okay. Like even if the worst of the worst of the worst happens, I'll get through it. I'll manage. I'm not gonna die.
That's one really attractive trait about Stoicism, is that ability to think things through in that way. And then if and when it happens, you're not responding from a place of fear, you're responding from a place of acceptance. And then you can make decisions around that, which I think is powerful.
Yeah, I like that too. You kind of go through that, and then in the end, that's what I forgot to say, you accept it. You accept it as a possibility, and you just make your peace with it. This might happen. Am I okay with it? Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. And there's a whole, I mean, we won't go into it now, but there's a whole aftermath of that as well. And I'm not even talking about other people now. I'm just talking about within yourself. There's a grieving that has to happen. It's a natural process. It is the death of something. It's the death of a relationship that was very important to you. And so it's allowing your body to respond to that, to let emotions come out if they need to, or even to explore things that you didn't realize were there. There's all sorts of stuff. The complication of it as well, that although it's the death of a relationship, the person that you're in a relationship with still exists, and so there's a sense of trying to navigate that in a different way moving forward, and you don't have control of that. That's a two-way thing as well. There's all sorts of mess around it, but I think going back to what we talked about earlier on, is having that sense of purpose, self-reflection, and the ability to move forward in a peaceful way, let's say, as opposed to a frantically chaotic way, is important. And I think that's why the legal structure does set itself up in a way that it does take time, so that you can hopefully process a lot of things within that time as well.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot to handle afterwards. And it's so important to not put pressure on yourself. Just be as loving, as gentle, as kind to yourself as you can be in the aftermath. As I said, turn your gaze inwards. Just check in with yourself. Don't worry about anyone else. Focus on yourself. That's what I would say.
And if you're naturally a people pleaser or looking for that affirmation from external sources, one of the tendencies around that is going to be thinking about the words of people in your community, or what people have to say about it. But it's really important that you're able to, like you said, turn your gaze inward and actually come to terms with what you think about it, and maybe your nearest and dearest have to say about it in a way that's helpful for you to move forward. Because it can feel really selfish. It can feel really like, oh my gosh, putting myself first is like that's not good. But actually, like, coming back to the cup analogy, you need to fill your cup, right? You need to be able to do things that is going to help you get through a very, very messy time in your life.
Yeah 100%.
Okay, well, final thoughts. Just your content, you are going through this journey yourself. You're putting things out there that I think is helpful for people. I know that predominantly a lot of what you're putting out there is on your stories as well, so there is a very journey feel to it. I would love people to, if they're interested in this or they're going through this, or they're looking for I don't want to say a guide, but looking for someone else that maybe can resonate with, where can they find you online? What's your Instagram handle? How can they find you?
It's Maria Bourne _life. That's the best place to find me right now.
Excellent. We'll put a link to that in the description and have it magically come up on this screen in a second as well if you're watching on YouTube.
Thank you.
And any final thoughts from yourself? Anything that you'd like to say to listeners of Going Courage, if you'd like to throw at them?
Well, if you are on this kind of journey of personal development, I would say work on getting to know yourself. And I think journaling and retrospection is the best practice for that, because you can't even tell if you're making progress if you're not keeping track of it, if you don't know what's going on, if you forget how you spent last week and last month, And another thing is work on building that trusting relationship with yourself first. If you can't quite yet trust that there is something out there that's looking after you and that has kind of your best interests at heart, then at least learn to trust yourself. Like, you need to know that you are capable of so many things. You're so resilient, you're so strong. You just need to show yourself the proof of that. And and that happens over time. It's not an immediate thing. It's a relationship. It's a trusting relationship with yourself. So I would encourage you to focus on those two things.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Maria. I think it was just yesterday or the day before you put out some content around trust and how it kind of links to the feminine expression as well. So I'd love to have you back to talk a little bit more about that on a future date as you go through that journey.
I would love that too, because that is very new sort of area for me, because I always thought I knew about femininity and what being a feminine woman is and what it's like living from that feminine energy. But it turns out the stuff I'm kind of discovering now, that I was just like scratching the surface. It was just all those ideas about feminine living. They were just kind of the consequences, not the underlying causes, not the reasons, not the foundation. So yes, a lot of very interesting stuff that's coming my way, and I'm excited to learn about and to share, of course.
Well, yeah, you go on that journey, get curious, do all that stuff, then come back and report back to us, and we'll unpack some of that. I definitely think you're onto something there with the whole expression around being in a safe space as a woman, to be able to feel that trust from the people around you, or especially your romantic partner, etc. And I think for men, it's about being that safe space and holding that space and being a protector, which I think men instinctively know, or at least my generation, to do physically, but actually it's the emotional space as well, to be able for us to get in touch with our own feelings, understand what's happening here, filling our cup up as men, so that we can embrace and create a safety and a protection around our trusting feminine counterparts, talking about heterosexual relationships here. But
yeah, for sure. It takes two to tango, right? It's never it's never just one side that can solve everything and be this perfect representation of masculine or feminine, and then the other one will just magically. It takes two people to do the work, to want to grow and to develop this kind of deeper level of connection with your partner. That's something that's very interesting.
Agreed. And to bring it full circle back to the beginning, we talked about vision, and I think that if you have two partners that have a vision that aligns, then it's a great place to start, because then whichever way you go, whoever's more masculine, more feminine, emotional, physical, etc., and of course there's a little bit of that in both sides. If your vision is aligned, or at least parts of your vision are aligned, then you're moving in the same direction at a relatively similar pace. Then you're onto a strong foundation.
For sure, that's so important.
All right, so you'll be back, and we'll unpack some of that in the new year.
Yeah. I'll be happy
Okay.
to, for sure. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rix. That was a pleasure. That was a joy.
You've said that before I've even thanked you, but thank you so much. And thank you for giving us your Instagram handle as well, so that if people want to reach out, follow your content, maybe even have some questions, they can, I hope, get in touch with you as well.
Sure. Yeah, I would love that. Thank you so much, Rix.
Fantastic. All right. So if you're listening to this, which I believe that you are, because you wouldn't have got this far if you weren't, I just want to say from Maria and myself, keep moving forward, keep that journey of self-development going, and whatever you're doing, when you come across fearful obstacles, keep moving forward and go in courage. I'll see you on the next episode. Hey, really hope you enjoyed that episode, and I hope there was something there that you can take away and reflect on. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can do so publicly on YouTube via the comments, or if you prefer to be more private, you can DM me on Instagram, and the handle is @goencourage. You can also find links to everything at the website, which is www.goencourage.com. You can find a copy of the Courage Journal, links to TikTok, Instagram, and all the places that you can find Go Encourage online. You can also have a look at the upcoming Go Encourage blog, which is coming soon. So yeah, definitely do check that out. But my encouragement to you is, whatever you're doing, whatever you're going through, keep moving forward and to go encourage. I'll see you on the next episode.